around to January 1. Speaking of unhappy, let's look at what's going on in Oakland County with one of the guys down there fighting the ultra-conservatives in a coup d'etat.
David Moffitt is the Republican vice chair of the Oakland County Board of Commissioners. He's been on the board for 18 years. He is currently, however, in the midst of an intra-party feud as moderates in the party are battling ultra-conservatives who won control of the party in a convention this week. Moffitt is an attorney with degrees from the University of Michigan and the University of Detroit.
Mr. Moffitt, welcome to our program. Jack's got the first toss.
Thanks, Tim.
Is it correct to call the right wing of the Republican Party a wing, or is it the body?
I think both are true. Certainly wings are essential for movement, and it's certainly larger than a mere wing. I think it's a substantial portion of the Republican Party, and they certainly say they are.
Why is your party in disarray down there?
Well, I'm not sure our party's in disarray.
Oh, come on, Mr. Moffitt. You had a rump convention. These guys came in and took Brooke Patterson's chairmanship away. That's not a problem?
Disarray is a strong term. We're a democratically operated party, and a little free discussion and open voting is sometimes a healthy thing. It demonstrates that we're not a machine party, that we really are open to the public, really are open to people to come and freely express their views and fairly vote their opinions.
Then why are you so upset about losing control?
Well, I don't think we've lost control. I think that a party convention has been dominated by a number of individuals who were in attendance that night, but I think at subsequent such events, others will be in attendance, and more even voting levels will be observed.
Did the ultra-right wing of your party take over the party in Oakland County?
No.
They have the elected chairperson.
They do. And fairly elected.
And by the way, he was a big success on election night, November 5th.
This is Tom McMillan.
This is Tom McMillan. He knocked off an incumbent Democratic county commissioner, and you've now got a bigger majority as a party on the Board of Commissioners, 19-6, than you had going into the election. So how is the right wing, supposedly, if that's what it is, of the Republican Party, such a bad thing in Oakland County? Sounds like they did pretty well.
Well, they certainly have contributed to the election of a lot of Republicans, and they have certainly held this administration in office for 12 years in large part. So I wouldn't say the so-called right wing of the party is a bad thing. They're in a, I think a stool is held up by three legs, and certainly you've got to have all three to maintain the level.
Isn't the problem really in Oakland County? I'm going to turn things around. Brooks Patterson. I mean, Brooks Patterson, Tim, is trying to act like Bill Milliken. He's trying to pretend all of a sudden reinvent himself after 20 years instead of being a right-wing scourge, which he was viewed as being during most of the 70s. Now he's a moderate. And furthermore, he goes around bashing everybody in the party in Oakland County who don't agree with him. And frankly, I think he's been a disaster as a chairman. You don't want a chairman like that. You've got to have somebody, maybe he can be more centrist or moderate, but he's got to reach out quietly behind the scenes to people of all persuasions within the party. Brooks Patterson hasn't done that. He's gone around with a club and he asked for what he got. He was an accident waiting to happen on your convention night.
Bill, it's an interesting perspective. Brooks is a skillful politician, and nobody knows Oakland County better. I think there was some validity to his at least perceived move to the center, because ultimately we do have to enlarge a circle and leave everyone in, and even that means the conservatives, although in this case we're talking specifically about moving to the center to include others than the conservatives. Brooks's methods may sometimes be called into question, but frequently his results cannot be questioned.
Do you think the voters really like that, the idea that I'm going to posture to the center? Or do you think there's more attraction to a straight shooter?
I think Brooks is one of the straightest of all shooters. He usually says just what he means, and he really doesn't pull any punches, and he's happy to get right on whatever is the widest disseminated media to tell you so. I don't think that this is really posturing on his part, as has been stated. I think he is sincere about wanting to draw the circle larger and leave more in. That's a process, and that's going to be painful at times. I think this is, as Bill said, a natural consequence of that kind of movement. But where was he to go? I mean, it was felt that we had lost Oakland County in 96, 2000, and 2002. And many perceive that we did have to try and reach a larger constituency. That's not an easy thing to do when you sometimes a little trial and error is involved.
Was Betsy DeVos behind this coup?
I can't say that Betsy was behind that. I've got to believe.
You can't say it, but you believe it.
I've got to believe that Betsy is more interested in the unity of the party than seeing Oakland County dominated by elements that may have some philosophical sympathy with her.
Yeah, but fingerprints are not on this.
We've got no smoking gun, and we don't expect to find
she's running
any.
for party chairman.
Yes.
How do you and how does Brooks Patterson feel about Betsy DeVos as state party chairman?
Well, I
Are
can't.
you supporting her?
I can't speak for Brooks, and certainly many of us still develop our thoughts. Betsy comes with identifiable history.
Baggage?
Philosophically.
Are you saying that this moderate wing of the Oakland County Party, you're not going to support Betsy DeVos for state chairman?
Wouldn't say that.
Okay, so let me
You're
ask you
leaning
this.
in that direction.
No, not at all. I think.
Well, then why don't you embrace her?
I think Betsy's a competent leader, and there's much time between now and when that election takes place. I think Betsy's going to take time to come out to the counties and discuss with us her vision for the party and help us understand exactly
Well, she spoke
how.
at your convention the other night. Did you see her vision, and do you agree with it?
She spoke briefly and not in the kind of specifics that I would expect her to speak to party leaders when we're not in front of microphones.
And she did speak right before this coup, correct?
She did.
My question is, why didn't you see this coming? Why didn't Brooks see this coming? Why didn't that?
Yeah, I mean, he
see this
just
coming?
lost the election, in a sense, for Posthumous, his candidate. You'd think, for God's sakes, if he's as effective a leader as you say, that he'd have his ducks in a row, and you'd meet in convention, and he and the moderates, the voice of reason, as you say, and the inclusive wing of the party, would be able to have the votes at the convention. He didn't have anything lined up, and the so-called right wing just overwhelmed him, and you.
I think it was a surprise to many that this occurred, and I do think it would have been appropriate to have had some foresight regarding this. The Free Press said that this conservative takeover had been rumored for months. Well, it wasn't rumored in some of my circles. You have to remember Brooks has.
You don't travel in those circles.
Brooks has a full plate. He's county executive. We're dealing with a budget crisis in the following year.
Yeah, but you say he's so insightful, and he is a straight shooter, and he has a better sense of what's going on in the county than anybody. He should have been. He's the chairman. You aren't. He's the chairman. He should have seen this coming. He should have known. He should have gotten his troops out. He didn't do it.
To some extent, that's got to be a valid criticism if you're going to lay cards on the table. It's always up to the party to read everyone's mind, see into the future, and, of course, do so correctly. That's not easy to do. You can't do it every time, and perhaps a little more of that would have been helpful here.
Now, Brooks says that he has said in the past that he's not going to run again for chairman. Do you think he should? No. And after this, he said he has no choice but to do that.
Right.
What do you think?
Well, there are a lot of dynamic leaders in Oakland County that could effectively serve as Oakland County Republican chairman. Certainly Brooks is one of them and has been one of them. He could serve effectively again as leader, and I think he has very broad support to do so. Whether he really chooses to do so or not is up to him. He said he has no choice, and to a certain extent I understand what he's saying, because he's suggesting that at this time, you know, to turn aside it would be a concession and perhaps would rob the rest of the party of the vitality necessary to incorporate this new movement into the party in a constructive manner.
I'm not asking you what Brooks thinks about running. I'm asking you what you think.
I have no question that Brooks could do the job, and if Brooks chooses to do the job, many of us will stand behind him.
If Dick Posthumus could win Macomb County, how come he couldn't win Oakland County?
Boy, that's almost a question I'd have to leave to leading experts like you on a statewide level.
We know nothing around this table. That's why you're here. What's
I
your
watch
guess?
your show frequently, and I know that's not
But
true.
was he just a lousy candidate?
Dick Posthumus was not a lousy candidate. Dick Posthumus was a remarkably nice guy. And I have always felt that our inability to win this election, which was a lot closer than many thought it was going to be, was possibly due to some organizational issues. It was narrow, and I feel that if the campaign had been started earlier, if it had been somewhat better orchestrated at a local level, there might have been some different results.
So you're not saying in any way that Dick Posthumus lost this or would have done better if he'd been more moderate?
Well, I did urge Dick early on to be more moderate and move toward the center, and I think Dick was amenable to that. But Dick is surrounded by many individuals and has a lot of pressures on him that don't make that kind of movement as easy as all of us might
Well, his
like.
inner circle were those people you're referring to. They wouldn't let outsiders in to change his thinking.
Some have said that.
Yeah,
Do you
but
believe that?
I believe that.
what could he have done or said that would have made him look like a moderate?
I can't speak for Dick, and it's difficult
Well,
to
I mean,
take
for
the
you,
cat.
what
to take-
issues, for instance? What could he have done?
Was
or
the
said?
reparations ad a good ad?
Was that a good ad? Well, it was widely perceived as not a good ad, although I am told that many people found that really thought-provoking. I'm not an advertising expert, so how to technically package it and sell it is one question, but the issue was certainly of great
What about the
interest to
water
voters.
board issue? That must have been a good issue in
I think
Oakland
that was a
County.
good issue.
Right, and I mean, you know, it didn't necessarily make him look like a right-winger. It was very reasonable. It was a good approach.
Well, it didn't play as much in Oakland County as it did in Macomb either.
Why didn't it?
I can't say.
Quickly, are you comfortable with Bob Goslin as new chair of the Oakland County Party, yes or no?
I don't think that Bob is going to be the unifying force that the party needs.
That would be a no,
although he has many,
That's a no.
many
Read my list. Is that a
attributes
no? All right.
appropriate for
You
a
may
leader.
not have
I
any
got to get out of
choice.
here, guys. Mr. Moffitt, thanks for joining our program and for your candid answers. Also, thanks to Jack and Sarah and Bill. Don't forget our email address, otrwkar.org. Till next week, I'm Tim Skubic for Off the Record.
Production of Off the Record is made possible by a grant from Rossman Martin and Associates of